pay.
Good evening and a very warm welcome to you, and thank you so much for joining us on the main news, broadcasting live from our Pocket Hill studio in the nation's capital. Let's take a look at our top stories this evening.
Zimbabweans unite in denouncing the continued existence of the US-imposed illegal sanctions.
Sanctions imposed on Zimbabwe have affected all sectors of the national economy.
In other news, 4 bridges already complete at the Mbudzi Interchange project, with access Route 8 set to be commissioned in December.
And later on in business, Zimbabwe's industry experts forthcoming 2023 national budget to prioritize capital projects.
And in sport, Chevron's coach Dave Houghton lashes out at the umpires who officiated in the Zimbabwe vs South Africa match for allowing play to continue in wet and inclement weather conditions.
Let's get straight into our top story this evening. Government has strengthened its resolve to deliver on national development goals despite the existence of illegal economic sanctions imposed on the country by the United States of America.
This comes as Zimbabwe today joins other nations in marking the SADC Anti-Sanctions Day to call for the unconditional and immediate removal of sanctions imposed on Zimbabwe.
In spite of the illegal sanctions imposed on Zimbabwe, the Second Republic has managed to make progress in line with the National Development Strategy 1 as well as the African Union Agenda 2063 to uplift the livelihoods of Zimbabweans. In a speech read on his behalf by Vice President General Retired Dr. Constantino Chiwenga on the occasion to mark the SADC Anti-Sanctions Day, President Emmerson Mnangagwa highlighted some of the developments the country has made regardless of the sanctions.
In the agriculture sector, we continue to make strides towards building $8.2 billion agricultural economy by 2025. This is a result of hard work and of cultivating a culture of production and productivity through the religious implementation of agriculture, food systems, and transformation strategy. The mining sector is on track to achieving a $12 billion mining industry by 2023.
While sanctions might have hindered the country from accessing fresh capital from international financial institutions, the country should continue to persevere.
We must therefore fully utilize all our creativity and endowments to insulate our economy from these sanctions and to implement with great vigor our local development prescriptions, programs, and projects to improve the quality of life of our people.
He added that Zimbabwe will not bend to the dictates of the West.
We call, press, and reiterate that these illegal sanctions must go. The people and government of Zimbabwe deserve a chance. We are not and will never yield to the sanctions conditioning and strangulating effect. We will never give up on sacred ideals and goals of our protracted armed liberation struggle. We will not abandon the path we have chosen for ourselves as a sovereign people to develop, modernize, and industrialize our great motherland, Zimbabwe, using our own capabilities, resources, and international goodwill.
Zimbabwe is grateful to SADC, the African Union, and other progressive forces for their support and unwavering solidarity towards the removal of the sanctions.
I particularly express Zimbabwe's gratitude to Excellencies President Mark Sari, President Felix Tshisekedi, President Eric Masisi, President Cyril Ramaphosa, President Hage Geingob, and President William Ruto for leading Africa's charge against the illegal sanctions. They gave the campaign an airy and emphatic start.
The SADC Anti-Sanctions Day was adopted by the 39th SADC Summit in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania in August 2019, which designated October 25 of each year as the Day of Solidarity with Zimbabwe against sanctions. Abigail Tembo, ZBC News, Harare.
Zimbabweans from all walks of life are today united in denouncing the continued existence of the US-imposed illegal sanctions that have affected all sectors of the national economy. Now, our teams in various provinces have filed this report.
A number of activities were lined up in Harare, from seminars to solidarity marches, and to headline all these activities was a peaceful demonstration at US Embassy in Harare.
Inkokelo ezitshiyeneyo sizokhuluma ngokuthi siyagxeka siyasola kakhulu ukwetheswa kwezijezo zomnotho elizweni leZimbabwe ama-sanctions.
Our message is bold, our message is clear. America should just remove these illegal and unjustified sanctions on Zimbabwe.
Zimbabweans feel there is need to amplify the call for removal of the illegal sanctions by dedicating each day to speak against the embargo.
Let's make every day October 25. It's crucial and necessary to make sure that this message does not only end at these higher platforms or gatherings, but we need to make a deliberate effort to take the message home.
As disabled people, I've tried to look for the braille material. You can access that only from America. Yet you can't. If you get it, it's too expensive. And then that's our way of writing and reading. So we cannot read. No, we cannot write, not because we cannot, but because it's not accessible.
The sanctions are not warranted to. We don't have any reason why we have these sanctions in our country.
Foreign embassies were also in solidarity with Zimbabwe, calling for world leaders to apply pressure on sanctions imposers.
We consider these sanctions as a kind of collective punishment, and we call all the time to be removed and lifted today before tomorrow.
I would like to express to the Zimbabwean people that need to be very united and fight against the sanctions.
Former opposition political party member Mr. Simon Chidakwa said sanctions are hitting all sectors of the economy as they need to be lifted unconditionally.
We are asking for those who are still in the opposition to say, guys, smell the coffee. Don't waste time. You will never get into office because of the sanctions. You only get into office because of the good programs.
Zimbabwe has been reeling under the illegal embargo for more than 2 decades now.
In Bulawayo, the tale of the demise of the industries is a story which cannot be separated from the illegal sanctions imposed by Western countries as a tool due to their inability to access cheap financing.
As people of Associate Zimbabwe, we stand with the Zimbabwe of SADC that has stood up and said these illegal sanctions on Zimbabwe should be removed.
Sithi ama-sanction kasuswe ngoba thina njengabomama sibili asizwisa ubuhlungu kakhulu ngoba thina yithi esiba affected yithi esiqalisa imuli.
So kodwa lami nxa ama-sanctions la ngaphumesha nami ngisaqhashwa kwenye ifirm nami ngizithole ngisebenza e-railways.
Sinanzelela ukuthi avaliwe okuyikuthi abantu abethu abalamsebenzi.
Everyone used to find any job, any kind of a job, you could find it in Bulawayo. As I talk here, all the industries are closed.
Let us not forget that this is a province with a deep history in heavy industry, heavy industrial production. The machinery needed to revive this and these imports are hampered by.
Proceedings were held at the National Railways of Zimbabwe grounds, an institution that was hit hard by illegal sanctions.
In Matabelele North Province, Zimbabweans came and spoke with one voice that illegal sanctions must go.
Ichwarati mulingija ati muti no to sanctions. Ma sanctions amuti kubajakasa mnyika yedu yesilanga liqakatheke kakhulu elikhuthaza ubana mina lawe siphume sisukume sizwakale ukuzwe amazwe aphetsheya abekwazi ukuthi abantu beZimbabwe bayakhala bayacela sebediniwe sebesithi #no to sanctions ama-sanctions awasuswe uzwabwe anti-sanction tunanzela ukuthi ma-Americans akabika ama-sanction uZimbabwe nkambo kakutiswe bo tokabuke zanyika yesu inyika yesu mbuvuki yesu tokati kukonza kuti pone nakabotu ngabati kuti uhlunguza bakatushupa
asoma-targeted sanctions but athwalise nzima ugogo ohleze emakhaya khonale kumbe intandane ehleze emakhaya khonale wonke umuntu weZimbabwe is being affected by these sanctions so asizifuni sithi ama-sanctions la ahambe.
In Gwanda, Matabeleland South Province, people braved the scorching heat to march and send a clear message: sanctions must go. With the economy of the province largely dependent on mining activities, mines also joined the march to express their displeasure. For Tubeli Khesibanda, whose mine is said to have a potential of producing 2,000 ounces of gold, sanctions are the reasons why she is failing to invest and boost operations.
The disadvantages now is small-scale mining. We are not yet capacitated very much in terms of having a machinery equipment.
For others, the availability of modern machines would make their mining ventures stick, but with the embargoes, it is all in vain.
And the mass siyathola igold lakhona elincane silihambisa efidelity siyathola ukuthi efidelity kayila mali just because ngama sanctions afakiweyo ukuthi itargete ukuthi iZimbabwe ingakwanisa ukuzimela yona yodwa.
Noda zvakawandisa like loans, we can't access loans from banks anogona kutipa loans anogona kuita kuti ti boost output yegold yedu.
We gather once more here to give our express message to the Western countries led by the United States of America to stop forthwith their illegal sanctions against us.
In Masvingo province, scores of people led by traditional leaders marched across Chiredzi town denouncing the illegal embargo.
Sanctions ayonela kwa mahambo munakala kuhanya akala kuhanyisa ipanadol hikulipfumala ufikala kokufa
pana chatakashayisha kwa vanhu hatisi kuti zvavanoda kuti vatiitire kuti vatishayishire nyika yedu hatizivi kuti chii. Masanction hatimadi ngaabve nekuti ari kukanganisa upenyu hwevanhu.
Ona sadhaki yose ichibata nesu isu tichiti tibetserei tarisai zvatakaitwa nenyika idzodzidzi dzakatidzvanyirira dziri kuda kungoenderera mberi dzisingotidzvanyirira.
Namitiro vana vaZimbabwe kwavo vapfumala mitiro mali ya hina ya Zimbabwe ilanguteka inga hatirhi hi mhaka ya ma-sanction swi vula ku kunani lihanyo la community ya Zimbabwe hinkwayo liwoneka li nga hatirhi.
Angakanganyisa tiko leZimbabwe tsena akanganyisa ni matiko man'wana ngakulomu Africa asi leswi anga maendlela swona ku kwatela esava leli va nga tekeliwa lomu Africa.
The Zimbabwean economy has suffered under Western unilateral sanctions for more than 20 years.
In Manicaland province, all the districts held anti-sanctions demonstrations as residents amplified calls for the removal of the heinous embargo. At the provincial level, Mutare Central Business District was a hive of activity as residents sent a loud and clear message regarding the sanctions.
Hakuna ma human rights violations anodarika ma sanctions nokuti ma sanctions anobata chero mwana ari kumukumbu asati azvagwa nokuti anoshayiwa chikafu maya vacho vachichitaka.
Ma sanctions aya anoaffecta nyika panhu yekuti haichakwanisi kunoita mabusiness nedzimwe nyika.
Macompanies mazhinji akavhara nekubudikidza nenyaya yemasanctions.
Taunganidzwa pano nechinangwa chekutiratidzire kusada kwedu kudzvanyirirwa. Munotarisa imi kuti masanctions akadzima mabasa, maindustry akavharwa, muno maMutare munoona imi kuti mafactory akawanda akavharwa aita employ vanhu vakawanda muno Manicaland. Mamwe wacho ari kutambura, mafactory achakavhurwa ari kutambura.
The closure of industries after the imposition of the illegal embargo and restrictions that prohibited farmers to export macadamia nuts, among other products, is something that locals have described as a crime against humanity.
In Mashonaland West Province,
Anti-sanctions protesters marched across the Chinhoyi town central business district, led by drum majorates, before converging at Cooksville grounds, with speaker after speaker calling for the unconditional removal of sanctions.
Sanctions have negatively affected our healthcare and delivery systems. Sanctions are a problem for a healthier nation, and a healthier SADC. Sanctions must go.
The so-called targeted sanctions are illegal and have robbed the Zimbabwean child of their rightful place in the global market.
We as men believed firmly stand with His Excellency, Comrade Emerson Tambudzo Mnangagwa, and the nation in calling for unconditional end of illegal sanctions that have been imposed on our motherland Zimbabwe.
Tiri kuvimba nekutenda kuti kunamatira nyika ine sanctions kwakaoma.
Affiliate organizations ataona panapa akawanda.
In Midlands Province, scores of people gathered at Gokwe Center for the Anti-Sanctions Day commemorations, with proceedings being punctuated by an anti-sanctions march. Acting Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, Mr. Charles Manire, highlighted how the sanctions have affected economic growth in the mineral-rich province.
The designation of government cabinet members and entities controlled or owned by them, as well as other senior government members or persons considered politically exposed, makes foreign banks and companies unwilling to engage with the public sector as a whole. The lack of competitive public sector salaries has led to high unemployment and loss of qualified personnel. Unilateral sanctions and over-compliance also facilitated the collapse of critical infrastructure.
To cap off the fantastic day, audiences were treated to splendid performances from men of the moment DT Bayomudimba and the ZPCS band.
Top times all around the country there. More than 20 years after the imposition of sanctions, Zimbabwe under the Second Republic is not deterred by the illegal embargo, with the last few years witnessing significant strides in growing the economy.
The land reform program, which sought to repossess land from the minority white farmers and apportion it to the country's citizens, soon created challenges for Zimbabwe. The sanctions have heavily impacted on the country's economy for a long time, affecting ordinary citizens. Elsewhere, other countries like Cuba, Yemen, Venezuela, and Iran have paid the price for being on the bad side of the United States. Russia is among the latest additions to the list of sanctioned countries by the United States. After years of suffering, Zimbabwe was expected to crumble. However, the Second Republic has since instituted several programs under Vision 2030 to grow the economy and build resilience. President Emerson Mnangagwa has been emphatic on his message that the country will not bury its head in the sand but will fight. The agriculture sector took a dip due to the sanctions, but now government has put in place deliberate policies to transform the sector through dam construction and investment in irrigation infrastructure. The Gwai Shangani Lake project, which was first mooted in 1912, has become reality under the Second Republic, with expectations that a green belt will soon be created in Matabeleland North Province. Government has adopted a new approach to dam construction by ensuring that as the water body is being built, irrigation infrastructure is also being put in place to ensure communities immediately benefit from having such infrastructure. Chivu Dam is one of the projects where irrigation infrastructure is already benefiting communities even before its commissioning. The results of the investment in agriculture are therefore all to see, with a record-breaking wheat harvest this season, which will last the country 13 months. Traditional Grains Association Chairman Mr. Basil Nyabaza is upbeat about prospects of the agriculture sector under the Second Republic.
We are pleased that there is a program within agriculture where at what level we are seeing installation, and the 35,000 bowls will enhance productivity and food security at village level.
The country has young and sharp minds who have a role to play in navigating around the sanctions. At a time when the education sector could be on its knees, the government has taken the initiative to turn universities into innovation hubs, creating solutions to the needs of industry. In the Midlands, a pathology research and diagnostic center was set up at the Midland State University, a move described as positive in the medical field. Vice-Chancellor of the Harare Institute of Technology, Engineer Quinton Kanukamwe, believes innovations at universities are key to import substitution as the country taps into the knowledge of its young people to produce latest technological inventions.
We supply farmers with transformers, which are being developed by our staff and students. This is despite the very difficult procurement system that we go through, especially in acquiring high-tech laboratory equipment because of the sanctions. And this makes our research outputs unnecessarily expensive because of the impact that the sanctions are having. All we are asking for is the removal of these sanctions, because a well-performing economy means more revenue to the fiscus, and the fiscus can adequately support our research and innovation ecosystem, which means our laboratories can be adequately funded and supported. So this is the reality that we find ourselves in. But hats off to our staff, students in the higher and tertiary education system. They make do with the little that they have.
Economist Dr. Langton Mabanga lauded the clear vision put in place by government, which has enabled the country to forge ahead.
The only way out for this country out of sanctions is to follow and do what the president has led us to, having a clear, vision-led trajectory, Vision 2030, where we have seen now a journey towards the transformation of this economy to upper middle income status. We have seen the transformation of the mining sector, charging towards the $12 billion target by 2023. We have seen climate-proofing agricultural systems that where we now realize self-sufficiency in wheat requirements in this country. We are seeing Education 5.0, young skills, young talent.
The Wange Thermal Power Plant expansion is also among the priority projects, and once complete, it will add 600 megawatts to the country's national grid. While calls are growing louder for the lifting of sanctions, the Second Republic is forging ahead with building the economy. Josephine Mugio, ZBC News, Harare.
SADC is deeply concerned at the claim that sanctions are of a targeted nature and are aimed at unilaterally punishing a few individuals. Chairperson of SADC and President of the Democratic Republic of Congo, His Excellency Felix Antoine Tshisekedi Chilombo, made these remarks in a statement today as the nation and region commemorates Anti-Sanctions Day. Calling for the lifting of all sanctions imposed on Zimbabwe, Mr. Chilombo said SADC is committed to the consolidation of democracy in Southern Africa and elsewhere in the world. He said Zimbabwe is expected to hold regular national elections in mid-2023. Hence, SADC appeals to those who have imposed sanctions on Zimbabwe to give space to citizens of the country to exercise their democratic rights and not use sanctions as a covert mechanism to effect regime change.
Members of the Pan-African Parliament have called for the unconditional lifting of the illegal sanctions imposed on Zimbabwe by the United States and its Western allies, saying that they are a destructive weapon which has no just cause. We get more from our news editor Ian Zoma, who is in the Midrand, South Africa, for the Pan-African Parliament seating.
Members of the Pan-African Parliament, an organization that was set up to ensure the full participation of African people in the development of their continent, have spoken with one voice. They have been unequivocal in calling for the lifting of sanctions imposed on Zimbabwe by the West, from North Africa to West Africa to East Africa as well as Southern Africa. The call and the voice is clear. It is the sound of a voice which is growing louder with each passing day as Africa unites in calling for the lifting of the destructive illegal embargo imposed on Zimbabwe by the United States and its Western allies. Leading the call is the President of the Pan-African Parliament, Chief Fortune Charumbira, ably supported by members of the PAP such as Honorable Felix Okot Okong of Uganda.
We still condemn sanctions against Zimbabwe and any other countries that are on sanctions. because that is another form of imperialism on other countries by America or Europe. It's very clear that it is simply a way of wanting to control. It's a form of colonialism.
The sanction that was imposed on Zimbabwe was misplaced because Zimbabweans were demanding for equity, equitable distribution of resources, especially the factor of production, which is land, so that they can own land and contribute to the development of their country. And therefore, I want to note and state clearly that I condemn in the highest degree the sanction that was generally imposed on Zimbabwe.
It is not an exercise in futility, as alluded to by senior ANC politician Honorable Amos Masondo, who's also the chairperson of the National Council of Provinces in South Africa.
Because when all is said and done, it is the ordinary people who suffer. Our quest at the Pan-African Parliament is to seek to improve the quality of life of people.
Even opposition political parties in Africa are equally convinced about the destructive nature of the legal embargo, as stated by Honorable McHenry Venani of the Popular Democratic Movement of Namibia.
There are a number of states that are not governing themselves in a very appropriate manner, but they are not sanctioned. If you look at what is happening in West Africa, Burkina Faso, Chad today, there are coup d'etats in those countries, but we are not seeing Western nations propelling a number of heavy economic sanctions. So I think there is resonance in the fact that we must remove the sanctions in Zimbabwe.
The message is clear, but what is more clear and more important is the call for action. Ian Zoma, ZBC News, Midrand, South Africa.
All is set for the ZANU-PF National People's Congress, which rolls into life tomorrow, with a number of foreign delegates expected to attend in solidarity with the ruling party.
It's all systems go for the ZANU-PF National People's Congress, with local and foreign delegates having started arriving in Harare and undergoing accreditation.
The Congress starts tomorrow with the meeting of the Politburo, and then it's followed by the Central Committee meeting the following day. And then after the Politburo, as well as the Central Committee, then we go to day one of the Congress, that is on Friday, and then we move into the second day, which is Saturday. That completes the process, and our delegates will be leaving on Sunday morning.
First to touch down at the Robert Gabriel Mugabe International Airport was the United States of America-based December 12 movement.
We are here to attend the Congress, to learn what we can in terms of the implementation of Zimbabwe building back, brick by brick, and the continued fight against the illegal sanctions.
Our long-standing allies based in the United States, they've done a lot of good work there, to support the interests and the welfare of Zimbabwe. Now, we have invited many of our friends from outside the country. All the former liberation movements have been invited in the region, and also other progressive political parties have been invited. Altogether, we've invited about 20 of our fraternal organizations to come and witness this very, very important National People's Congress.
The ZANU-PF National People's Congress will be held in Harare from the 26th to the 29th of this month, with various corporates set to exhibit at the Congress. Wellington Makonese, ZBC News, Harare.
The department says the isolated rains received in various parts of the country are likely to persist until the end of the week, with farmers being advised to utilize the showers to wind up land preparations.
The rains, which saw some parts of the country receiving heavy downpours of more than 50 milliliters this Monday, are expected to persist up to the end of the week.
As we get into the rest of the week, we're still expecting a few isolated thunderstorms in places, as the system is still very active across much of the country. But for the Mashonaland provinces, it has been far much less, where we've still had those sunny skies across much of Mashonaland West, Mashonaland Central, and northern parts of Mashonaland East. We'll still, however, keep you updated, as most of the storms tend to be violent at the beginning of the year, coupled with a lot of lightning and strong winds in places. So we still urge the public to be indoors during these thunderstorms.
The rains do not mark the beginning of the planting season, but farmers are being urged to closely monitor rainfall patterns.
These rains which have come, at least it is a sign that we must finish off preparing our lands. We must finish off preparing or procuring the inputs, our fertilizers, our chemicals, our seed, everything, putting them in place so that as soon as we receive enough rains adequate to germinate our maize, like 25 millimeters and above, and if you soybeans 30 millimeters and above, at least we should be going in and planting. If you are not sure of whether your soils have received enough moisture to germinate your crops, you can always work with our Agritech's extension officers on the ground to advise accordingly.
The Meteorological Services Department has predicted normal to above normal rains in the first half of the season, particularly in the southern parts of the country. Tentai Munengwa, ZBC News, Harare.
You're watching the main news now, still to come in this bulletin. In other news, 4 bridges already complete at the Mbudzi Interchange project, with access route 8 set to be commissioned in December. In business, Zimbabwe's industry expects forthcoming 2023 national budget to prioritize capital projects.
And later on in sport, Chevron's coach Dave Horton lashes out at the umpires who officiated the Zimbabwe versus South Africa match for allowing play to continue in wet and in pleasant weather conditions. Follow us on our social media platforms at ZBC News Online. Send us your questions, comments, and your contributions. We'll take a short break. Be right back with more.
Residents and ratepayers, Christmas has come early. From the 1st of September to the 31st of December 2022, Rua Local Board is offering its valued residents and ratepayers an opportunity to win a 32-inch smart TV, dinner for 2 at a 5-star hotel, exemption on service charges for 3 months, exemption on service charges for 6 months. Pay your monthly residential rates and service charges and you are in the running. If your account is paid up, come in and pop a balloon and win lots of exciting prizes. You can pay your bills via EcoCash or direct deposit with the details on your screen, or visit our offices at 855 Chiremba Road, Rua.
Hey, Leo.
Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now, the Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, about now, about now.
Midweek is no exception to TM Pick and Pay, delivering real value. Grab these products on promotion for Wednesday and Thursday. T's and C's apply. TM Pick and Pay. Real value always. Here's to the coffee magicians. The ones who know what you get out starts with what you put in.
Are you thinking of creating your dream bathroom? Then the Tile and Carpet Center Golden Jackpot promotion is for you. You could be one of the 3 lucky winners to win products up to the value of $4,000. There are monthly and instant prizes to be won too. Every time you spend $200 at any Tile and Carpet Center or CAPS branch nationwide, you receive an entry coupon. Simply keep your receipt, fill the form, and drop it in your branch's entry box. Promotion runs from 1 October to 31 December 2022. T's and C's apply.
Welcome back. You are still watching the main news on this very important day where we are saying no to illegal sanctions imposed on Zimbabwe. It is very important not only for Zimbabwe but for SADC as a whole. Despite the illegal sanctions, Zimbabwe is forging ahead with its development agenda with revelations that 4 new bridges have been completed at the majestic Mbudzi traffic interchange, whose construction is taking shape.
Extensive works on construction of the Mbudzi traffic interchange are progressing in haste, with 4 bridges now complete ahead of the rain season. This is bridge 4 and 5, which are in progress. The progress will see access route 8 being completed soon to allow for vehicle passage and continuation of commerce.
We have bridge 11, bridge 12, bridge 10, and bridge 2. Those are the ones that are completely finished as of now. We're left with 4 and 5 is already in progress. That's our next bridge in completion. Then from 4 and 5, because they are next to each other, we have bridge 1, which is the main bridge.
Residents are optimistic the developments will change the face of their communities.
Zvakanaka chaizvo nekuti even kana vanobvawo kunze vachiuya muno vanoonawo kuti nyika iri kudevelopwa zvakanaka.
Deno munomo amakaitwa uku zvakadai kare kare nokuvakawo kwakanaka nokuitirwawo zvakanaka seizvozvizvi tinovatenda vari kuita zvese izvozvizvi.
The Mbudzi Interchange project is one of the Second Republic's massive road infrastructure projects, which will have a combination of 13 bridges, with the Mbudzi Upmarket Route 8 set to be commissioned in December. Wellington Makonese, ZBC News, Harare.
We cross over, however, not to Montrose yet, but to the anti-sanctions gala being held at the Chitungwiza Aquatic Complex, where artists are performing at the music extravaganza. We have our reporter, Memory Chamisa, there to give us a live update on what is taking place.
Thank you. We are live here at Aquatic Complex in Chitungwiza, where scores of people are gathered, joining in a song and dance for the anti-sanctions gala. And as you know, Zimbabwe is joined in solidarity with the SADC countries in calling for the removal of the illegal sanctions that were imposed on the country for the past 2 decades. And as you know, despite of the illegal sanctions, the Second Republic has been making inroads of note as the reconstruction of dams and construction of dams across the country's provinces to also boost the country's agricultural sector. And also you have been noticing the rehabilitation of roads, the major ones being the Masvingo and Bike Bridge Highway, and also rural economies have been on the map with the Munezi Mafura plant on the map that is doing also well. And joining me tonight is the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting Services, Comrade Nick Mangwana, to just give us a brief on why people are gathered here and what has been happening across the country today. Good evening, Permanent Secretary. How are you?
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
I see you are here in solidarity with scores of Zimbabweans here in song and dance. If you could tell us the importance of you being here with other government officials.
I believe that the issue of sanctions affects every Zimbabwean, and we have come to where people are, and you can see the crowds. They've come out in their huge numbers. You will see a lot of young people that are affected by the sanctions. We want the nation to understand from a very young stage how sanctions affect them. Most of these people, they were born when the sanctions were imposed, and they know nothing else but the issue of sanctions and the effects on their livelihoods, the effects on their prospects, even as young people. So we definitely are very happy that people are in solidarity with the SADC call for everybody to shout out on the 25th of October every year until these illegal sanctions have been removed from our nation.
Speaking of young people, we see that they are gathered here, and also
Indeed.
the Second Republic has also been putting them in reviving the economy through the innovation hubs at universities and all. And also this has proved that we have the capacity to be producers, we have the capacity to be innovators.
Yes.
As the ministry, what is it that you will be saying to these young people here who have come out in solidarity?
If you check nations which are progressive, they believe and have occupied some space in startups. Innovation hubs is our way of getting into that space. When you cannot innovate without having startups, and you can see the vision of the president to say, young people, think of something, think of solutions. Whenever you see a need, think of a solution. When you get a solution, government is there to support you. And when you do that, there's a linkage between your innovative ideas, your patent, and industry itself. So you see that we don't only have innovation hubs, we have industrial hubs, which are linked to universities as well. And soon you will see that they will be moving the innovation hubs maybe closer to the industry itself rather than the university. Because the people that benefit from those innovation hubs are industry and commerce. So there's a brilliant linkage between the ideas in your head and the need which needs to be fulfilled in the nation, in our progress.
Thank you, Permanent Secretary. There you have had it. And also joining us here are some of the artists who are waiting to wow the scores of people gathered here. With me right now is Matthias Mere of the famous Kandasi Muzwana Baba, Ichava Norondo. Matthias, good evening. Aiwa, ndakasimba ini hanzvadzi mungatiudzawo kuti pano mauya kuzoitei sezvo Zimbabwe yese neSADC tiri kuchema kuti masanctions ngaabviswe.
Ya, chinhu chakakosha kuti tibatanise mhuri yeZimbabwe, toisa musoro pamwe chete, tobva taonekwa kuti tiri kufamba negwara 1 rekuwirirana sezvizvarwa zveZimbabwe. Ya, ndokuti tiri pano kuti aiwa patinobatana tichiimba tinonzwikwa kwese kwese.
Kune vari kumbawo vari kutiona pachivhitivhiti munotiwo kwavari?
Ndiri kuti ndinoziva kuti vamwe vakundikana kusvika pano nekuda kwetransport, vamwewo vanogona kunge vachigara kunonetsa transport, but takabatana muri kudzimba ikoko tinongova nemutangariro wekuti tiri kuseva one purpose.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
also here is Baba Keketso and Murizo. We see muri panapa nemamwe maZimbabweans ese mukuimba nemufara uyezve tichitaura donzvo rekuti masanctions ngaaende ngazvibviswe zvirango zvakaisirwa panyika yeZimbabwe. Imimi wose muimbi masanctions muri kuti akatishatireiwo uye kuvaimbi akuvhiringidziraiwo basa sei?
Masanctions akashatira pachinhu 1 chekuti isusu tiri takatasa vaimbi tisu voice revanhu, asi tikakwanisa kuti titaure vanhu vanokwanisa kunzwa, asi hapakwanise kuva neimplementation nekuti panenge pane ganhuro inenge yakaiswa. Saka masanctions iganhuro yekubudirira kwangu inini nevateereri nevamwe vese vanenge vari kunze. Asi tikakwanisa kuti ipapo paite pabviswe, munotoona kuti zvese zvatinenge tichiita zvinobudirira, because nyango tingava nemaproducts, ingava music, chingava chii, tikada uchisenda kunze uko chinobudirira because pane pasina ganhuro.
Basa. Well, you have heard it for yourself, viewers. There, we have a lot of artists lined up here to perform. Coming also is Sandra Ndebele. We are also poets, the likes of Nobile Malinga. They're also going to be coming on the stage. We have also Agatha Muruzwa, who's also going to be performing here as they all call for the removal of the illegal sanctions. And also of note is that the theme for this year's Anti-Sanctions Day is enhancing Zimbabwe's resilience through economic development and engagement and re-engagement, which has been the call made by President Emerson Mnangagwa since his inception and the Second Republic, as we move forward in reviving the economy, and also him saying Zimbabwe will move forward and will leave no place and no one behind. And as you can see, people now, they want the artists to come and perform. That is my cue to live. It's back to you in the studio. Good evening.
Thousands of people. Top times there in Chi-Town. I will now be crossing over to another Chibaba. We're joined by Arthur C. Evans at our Montreux studio. Arthur, over to you.
Yes, well, as the dark cloud of sanctions looms over the country, we still have some positive news coming out of our country, fortunately. And farmers in Gwanda district have expressed satisfaction with the preparations for the summer cropping season after government and its partners availed inputs ahead of the onset of the rains.
It was joy for farmers in Gwanda this Monday after government, under the Smallholder Irrigation Revitalization Program (SEPA), organized a seed fair in Patana village, where seed houses sold biofortified seed at subsidized prices. With the rain season almost upon us and the climate-proof Intwasa Mvudza land preparations going on well, dryland farmers are convinced that the availability of drought-resistant seed is vital.
Ukuthi vele mina ngiyabangikhangela ukuthi hayi vele njengoba sizalima izulu lizabuya ngingakuphangisela ngiyenze njengokusifundiswe ngakho ngabalimisi ngiyenza ukuhlanyela ngamakhoti ingcekho zanginika vele izulu noma lingaba litshani.
Lezi inhlanyelo abathi fortified seed ziyasincedisa ngokubana zilesivuno ukudlula lezane esizithatha eziphaleni zethu.
Pleke kisinoilukisani kisinolukisa 3 plots kisinoeba 3 plots zawuzala pfumvutsi peni buthokwa re khumane pe ukuri ingwe ningwe nako pulayana re ya khona ulima at 10 time.
The local leadership has commended the government and its development partners for bringing the seed houses to the village, saying it has lessened the burden on the villagers and also encouraged more farmers to do better.
Amaploti efumudza kumbe ngithi Intwasa each is supposed to have 5 plots. Ngilethembe ukuthi khona vele sebenza sebeaqedile so into abenze inhlanyelo lesibuyile lisina nje kuphela inhlanyelo ngela phaya.
Our government is committed to turn around the fortunes of the agriculture sector.
Umlimi ohlakaniphileyo ngokwazi ukuthi inhlanyelo ngangayihlanyela lanxa ilangaze libuye lichise kangakanani.
The Meteorological Services Department has predicted a normal and above normal rainfall season. Providence Maranelli, ZBC News, Gwanda.
The refurbishment of Matande Clinic in Rishawane by government has brought joy to the surrounding communities, with the centre set to enhance health service provision in the rural area.
Matinda villagers in Rishawane have commended the Second Republic's inclusive development drive following the completion of a waiting mother's shelter and the refurbishment of Matenda Clinic, which villagers say will go a long way in improving rural health care. Development was welcomed with even more joy by expecting mothers.
Zvandinakira pakugadzirwa kwaita chipatara chedu kuti seni mudzimai kunyanya ndakatarisa kunyaya yekumatumba uku kuti kunyange tikazosfunga kuita mwana ndinouya pano padhuze. Pane vamwe vanhu vaiti vaigodzwa nenhumbu pamwe oponera kana musango anditi kozouyazve munhu akabatsigwa pamwe panenge pasina kuti pasina chichi kuwedzerwa ropa kuti awedzerwewo saka ndezvimwe zvinhu zvanga zvichitinetsa izvozvo saka totofara nokuvhurwa kwaita mai matumba.
Midlands Minister of State for Provincial Affairs and Devolution, Senator Larima Vima, implored stakeholders and the business community to rally behind the President Emerson Mnangagwa's vision of leaving no one and no place behind in terms of development.
Hatingatarisi munhu unobva kushe kwenyika kana kuti unobva kune imwe province isiri Midlands kuti auye azotisira pendi apa. Handiti isu kana ndisu vene vacho, ndisu vana vacho kuno, hatingareki zvinhu zvichiparara takatarisa. Iwe pauri nepauri tsvaga chaunokwanisa kuita kubetsera hurumende yako.
Meanwhile, Senator Mavima took the opportunity to donate food hampers to the staff at Matenda Clinic and the less privileged members of the community. Matenda Clinic services villagers from Matenda area, Shurugwi and Chivi. Karajushe, ZBC News, Zvishavane.
Well, from building medical infrastructure to building support, the ZANU-PF Manicaland province has endorsed the candidature of President Emmerson Mnangagwa for the 2023 harmonized elections.
As is the ruling party tradition, party structures should validate resolutions that are submitted by provincial structures during party conferences and congresses as part of its internal consultation and democratic processes. This Sunday saw ZANU-PF Manicaland members unanimously pledging unwavering commitment towards the leadership of President Emmerson Mnangagwa, endorsing him as the party's candidate ahead of the party congress and next year's harmonized elections.
ZANU-PF Manicaland province nominates and endorses the candidature of Comrade Dr. Emmerson Mnangagwa as the president and the first secretary of ZANU-PF party to be elected at the 7th National People's Congress. Chisungo chechipiri chakabva kumhuri yemanikani chiri kuti icho ZANU-PF Manicaland province nominates and endorses His Excellency the President and the first secretary of the party, Comrade Dr. Emmerson Mnangagwa, as the party's sole presidential candidate for the 2023 harmonized elections.
Electing leaders with correct ideological opposition and curbing factionalism, candidate imposition and vote buying are some of the issues captured in the party resolutions ahead of the Congress slated for Harare from the 26th to the 29th of this month. Kenya Sivushe, ZBC News, Mutari.
Well, that's all we have for you from our Montrose News Desk. My name is Arthur Sevens. We take you back to Pocket Hill for more news. Over to you, Chibaba.
Thank you so much, Chibaba. Let's get straight into more stories. A witness in the trial of Imelda Marazani, who allegedly killed her 4 daughters in 2020, says the accused decided to kill her children and attempted to commit suicide after her husband threatened to marry a second wife.
Police Sergeant Perseverance Muri, who was at the charge office where Marazani surrendered herself after killing her 4 daughters, the accused ended her children's lives and attempted to kill herself to allow her husband to start a new life with his lover. Sergeant Muri said Marazani had revealed the major reason why she decided to kill her children when she was admitted in hospital. The police officer told the court that Marazani claimed to have been abused by her husband, who was adulterous during their marriage, and she could not take the pain of betrayal after he threatened to marry a second wife, hence choosing to kill their children. In her testimony, Sergeant Muri also told the court that on the day Marazani committed the offense, she acted normally as if she had not done anything wrong, but was remorseful the following day. The investigating officer, Taruinga Kamfetu, told the court that Marazani had not exhibited any signs of insanity during his interaction with her. The state has closed its case, with the defense case postponed to the 9th of next month at the instigation of the defense. Marazani intends to go for further psychiatric medical assessments at Parenyatwa and Salim Gabe hospitals, and they wish to use the results in their defense case. Marazani allegedly killed her 4 children by slitting their throats with a knife before setting the house on fire. The children were aged 9, 5, 3 and 1. Meanwhile, The family of the ZB Bank internal security officer, Shadrach Njowa, who allegedly masterminded a $2.7 million United States dollars cash-in-transit heist, have been denied bail by a Harare court. Njowa's wife, Patricia Kanukamwe, aged 47, and sons, Job 25, Washington 32, and Takawira Meshek Njowa 22 are facing charges of harboring a criminal. The family's freedom bid was dismissed this Tuesday after the state managed to convince the magistrate that the four were not proper candidates for bail, as they are most likely to flee the jurisdiction of the court and fail to stand trial. Fungai Jachi, ZBC News, Harare.
Our courts update taking us to a breather. When we return, we'll give you the latest update in our business segment. Stay with us.
Won it, and the mightiest fall.
Ndichikura baba vangu vairova mai vangu sezvaita ubaba vavo. Asi pandakangokura ndakabva pamusha ndikabva ndangovafuratira.
When I found out that my colleague was physically abusing his wife and children, I actually tried talking to him, but he wouldn't listen. I do not support abuse. I had no choice but to cut him from my life until he reforms.
Sathola ukuthi omunye wethu wayehlukuluza umkakhe kodwa sathatha isinqumo sokumkhipha eqenjini lethu.
You could lose it all. The choice is yours.
Avoid the inconvenience of public transport and get yourself a city car or an off-road vehicle from Premium Mobility. Get the best deal in Zimbabwe for short-term rentals that come with the option of you driving yourself or chauffeur-driven. And you can get even more for less when you take our long-term deals. Get in touch with us now. We look forward to having you for an unforgettable Premium Mobility experience. Enjoy the grand experience at the new look revamped Grand Salou Hotel at the corner of 6th Street and Salou Avenue in Harare. Choose from a consortium of 51 rooms and the ultimate lap of luxury with our executive rooms. So what are you waiting for? Enjoy the grand experience, a lap of luxury.
Welcome back. Zimbabwe industry says the forthcoming 2023 national budget should continue with a tight money supply stance while also prioritizing capital projects to ensure consolidation of the current macroeconomic stability prevailing in the country.
After experiencing economic volatility in the past 2 years, the country's industry is expecting the 2023 national budget to be expansionary to create real economic activities and build on the current stability brought about by fiscal and monetary measures. The Executive Director of the CEO Africa Roundtable, Mr. Kipson Gundan, believes the budget should prioritize capital expenditure as a building block to sustainability for growth.
The budget is the ultimate policy that sets the economy on a particular trajectory or particular course. So one thing that I obviously expect the minister to touch on is the continuation of fiscal consolidation, to make sure that the government spends within reasonable budget deficit margins that are fundable with the resources that we generate locally.
Zimbabwe National Chamber of Commerce CEO Mr. Christopher Mgaga is expecting the budget to address aggregate demand by reviewing tax regimes with respect to the intermediated money transfer tax IMTT.
The budget story should be clear to consolidate and somehow send a clear message of carrying forward the level of stability Zimbabwe is currently experiencing. If you look at the level of stability we are experiencing at the moment, it's something which is quite very exciting, especially from a monetary side. So this is a budget we are saying let's consolidate on that stability. And secondly, it is a very serious fact that if you look at the taxation levels, especially the intermediate money transfer tax of both 2% and 4% for nostril balances, it had become quite an Achilles heel for most businesses. And we are having a clarion call, especially to the Treasury, to see to that it's either they remove that taxation head or it's restructured so that it becomes tax deductible.
The 2021 and 2022 budgets have been used as building blocks for the implementation of the National Development Strategy 1. Hence, economists expect the forthcoming budget to continue with the same trajectory. Davson Vandira, ZBC News, Harare.
Davson Vandira with that business update, taking us to another break. But we are on standby with Anna Shembrombedzi in the Sports Corner right after these messages.
Here's to the coffee magicians. The ones who know what you get out starts with what you put in.
Salibonani, lihlangana lo mama uManyoni oleminyaka engu56. Kwakungelula lapho ngitholakala ukuthi ngilegcikwane leHIV. Ngesikhathi sakhona kwakungela hope lo muntu ole HIV. Omakhelwane esigabeni abantu babengakwamukeli ngesimo sakho seHIV. Ngo2004 kwafika uhlelo lweArt lapho lami engangena khona ehlelweni. Ngaqalisa lami ukunatha amaphilisi ami awe-HIV. Khathesi sengisenelisa ukuyenza imisebenzi yami engadini, ukuziphekela ukudla kwami okumnandi, lokugcina abazukulu bami ngoba ngangingelali ikhangelelo lokuthi ngingabona abazukulu bami bekhulu. Ngamaphilisi ami awe-HIV ngiyenelisa.
Here for the show-stopping magic of a moment.
Upgrade and stay connected to DSTV Compact for $29 per month to enjoy all 64 matches. Here for every fan.
Varun Beverages Zimbabwe brings you the 4-in-1 benefits in their 1-liter family pack.
Now, every mom can satisfy the whole family with 1-liter family and friends packs that gives you value for money, convenience of takeaway, and fits into your home cooler and your budget.
So, get your 4-in-1 benefits with 1-liter pack today. Also available in Mirinda Fruity, Pineapple, Green Apple, Diet Pepsi, and 2-liter.
welcome to the Sports Corner. Well, initially I thought Joyce would introduce me as Chimama, just like Arthur and Farai were just praising themselves as men. But well, let's just leave it for another day and focus on what we are here for. Starting off with the cricket, now Chevron's coach David Horton has joined former international players in lashing out at umpires for allowing Zimbabwe's match against South Africa to continue in rain at the International Cricket Council T20 World Cup in Australia on Monday.
The match in Hobart this Monday was abandoned with South Africa 13 runs away from their rain-affected Dakwet Lewis target of 64 from 7 overs. Zimbabwean quick Richard Ngarava, who bowled the second over, limped from the field with an ankle injury after slipping in his follow-through in the wet conditions. A play had to be held up several times throughout the evening before umpires Hassan Raza and Michael Gauff pulled the pin with South Africa 51 for no loss from 3 overs. The match was declared a non-result with the teams splitting the points. Zimbabwean coach Jeff Horton was disappointed with the match officials.
I understand the need to try and get these games for the public and for everybody else and the TV people watching. I understand the need for us to try and play in slightly inclement weather to try and get a result, but I thought we overstepped that mark in this game, and I thought there was probably 4 or 5 overs we should have come off. I don't think we should have even bowled a ball, to be fair, but the umpires are the guys making those decisions out in the middle, and they seem to think it was fit to play, and I disagree with them, but there's not much I can do off the field.
Former cricketers and fans across the world also took to social media to vent their frustrations over the decision by the match officials to continuously push the game. Wicketkeeper Regis Chakava also came unstuck in the wet, slipping over trying to field a ball down leg while standing up to the stumps. Zimbabwe's captain Craig Evan resorted to bowling his spinners in a bid to protect his seamers from the conditions underfoot. The result leaves Zimbabwe and South Africa 1 point behind India and Bangladesh after the opening round, with only 2 countries progressing to the semi-finals. The Chevrons take on Pakistan this Thursday in Perth. Lawrence Tusida, ZBC News, Harare.
And now in football, Dynamos and Highlanders are set to renew their rivalry in part 2 of the Battle of Zimbabwe, scheduled for the National Sports Stadium on Sunday.
The abandoned first leg was dominated by hooliganism, a ghost that saw the Premier Soccer League temporarily suspending games to address the vice. The game that has always defined Zimbabwean football, however, seems to have lost its lustre, but both teams look forward to the fix, and likewise, Dynamo's coach Tonderai Ndirai is hopeful of collecting maximum points to restore smiles to the Glamour Boys fans.
We are tied with Chicken Inn, still on second position, of course with an inferior goal difference, but we want to push the last 3 games. Dynamos is a team with lots of pressure, and that is public knowledge. And I thought the team has done so well this season to be in the position that we are, if you want to consider where we are coming from. 2019 we were a different team. 2020 there was no football. 2021 it was just those cup games. And then this season, we pushed the way we've pushed. I'm happy, quite satisfied with what the boys have done so far.
Highlanders head to the capital with their tails up after winning 1-0 over Bulawayo Chiefs, while Dimbara head to the blockbuster encounter a wounded side after losing by the same margin to Bulawayo City. But coach Tonderai Ndirai is upbeat the boys will rise to the occasion as the fixture is self-motivating.
That one is self-motivating, if you ask me. There's not much work we do as coaches when it comes to those big matches. So, yeah, it's a big one, and we are waiting for the big one. It's unfortunate that we are getting into that game on the back of defeat today, but this is the football terrain. This is what we find ourselves in.
Zimbabwe will be hoping their first choice goalkeeper Timon Mvula is available, having resumed light training following an injury in the Chibuku Super Cup tournament. Mchokozi Stube, ZBC News, Bulawayo.
And now in beach volleyball, the Zimbabwe Defence Forces ZDF ladies beach volleyball team scooped bronze at the just-ended Zone 6 tournament in Lesotho.
The tournament had 14 professional teams from host Lesotho, Botswana, South Africa, Namibia, Mozambique and Zimbabwe. The ZDF team outshone their more fenced local rivals, Zambezi Amazons, to scoop bronze in the two-day tournament. Speaking from Lesotho, the team's coach Israel Bandawa said he is proud of the team for lifting the country's flag high.
We also want to thank our commanders for providing us with everything that the team needs to travel to all these tours. We also want to thank the corporate world. We are hoping that we will always maintain our status as the biggest #1 team from the ladies' side of the beach volleyball in Zimbabwe.
Zambezi Amazons was knocked out of the quarterfinals by eventual winners Mozambique. Mozambican teams took all the top 2 positions after they completed in the final. The next leg of the tour will be in Botswana. Peter Chivima, ZBC News.
And that's it from the sports corner. Let's all keep on raising our voices high, saying no to sanctions. And remember that Zimbabwe needs to move forward, leaving no place and no one behind. Farai, it's back to you.
Thank you so much there, Anasha. Now, in the story just in, President Emmerson Mnangagwa's grandson, Yasha Mafidi, who succumbed to respiratory complications on Sunday, has been buried at the family home in Masvingo.
A somber atmosphere engulfed Masvingo Rural this Tuesday as the first family bid farewell to their grandson Yasha Mafidi Mnangagwa, who died on Sunday. While speaking at the burial, President Emmerson Mnangagwa said the family is saddened by the untimely passing on of his grandson Yasha, who was very close to his grandmother, the First Lady, Dr. Auxilia Mnangagwa.
Tabunganidzwa nemuzukuru mbuya vake vangadai vataura mai Mnangagwa First Lady so kwanzi vabatikana nokuti vanga zviri bhandi nebhurugwa namafiti saka asi handizogona kuti nditaure zviri pamwoyo pavo nokuti zvachiwira zvokuti heki nemuzukuru wavo manzwa mukomana joni achiti mai vane rombo rakanaka vanowira nevaroora zvinofamba zvese ukona zvese ukova nenguva zvese uye zvinorema kuti vazukuru ndovochengetwa nanasekuru. Zvoida kuti vana vachengete vana baba, vazukuru vochengeta vana sekuru. Asi Mwari ane matongero ake, ndiye anoita zvaanoda, haabvunzwi. Saka zvokudenga zvakasiyana nepanyika, panyika pane apiro.
President Mnangagwa thanked the people of Zimbabwe for supporting and consoling his family during their difficult time.
Rugare nokubatana nokuwirirana runodikanwa kuti nyika yedu tisimudzire pamusoro. Ndizvo muchiona kuti pese pandinotaura ndinotaura ndichikumbira runyararo mukati menyika, kubatana mukati menyika, kuremekedzana mukati menyika.
Family representatives Emmerson Mnangagwa Jr. and Sekuru Felix Mangwiro could not hide the family's pain.
Today, Manisha Mwari, it's a time to cry for us. It's a time to mourn. It's a very difficult time to mourn our son Mafidi. As we mourn our son, let's take inspiration from the words of King David, Psalms 133, verse 1.
Asi ndinoti azvigumire ipapo upenyu huriko, Mwari anokomborera, Mwari anokupa nzira yekurarama nayo.
Yasha Mafidi's aunts gave a unique send-off to their beloved nephew, whom they said was always joyful. Yasha Mafidi, the only son to Shon and Varaidzo Mnangagwa, succumbed to respiratory complications at a local hospital on Sunday. He was 5 years old. The burial was attended by Vice President, General Retired Dr. Constantino Chiwenga, ZANU-PF Second Secretary, Comrade Kembo Mohadi, government officials, family members, ZANU-PF party members, church members, and the general public. Messi Boof. ZBC News, Mashingo.
Meanwhile, Vice President General Retired Dr. Constantino Chiwenga has sent a message of condolences to President Emmerson Mnangagwa and the family after the death of his grandson Yasha Mafidi Mnangagwa. Yasha succumbed to respiratory complications on Sunday. In a statement, Dr. Chiwenga consoled the family, praying for God's love to give them strength and hope.
Well, that brings us to the end of tonight's bulletin. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good night.
We have not put our heads under sand because sanctions have been imposed on us.
As you are aware, the first family is in deep grief following the tragic passing on of their grandson. His Excellency the President Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa and the First Lady Dr. Xiria Mnangagwa are away attending to this tragedy. His Excellency the President has asked me to deliver on his behalf this important statement marking the SADC Day Against Sanctions, which falls due tomorrow on the 25th of October 2022. I thus present to you His Excellency the President's statement. Compatriots and citizens of SADC, Africa and the progressive world, on this 25th day of October, and on behalf of the people and government of Zimbabwe, our party ZANU-PF, and on my behalf, I express profound gratitude to the Southern African Development Community, SADC, the African Union, AU, and to other progressive forces for the support and unwavering solidarity we continue to receive as we struggle against the illegal sanctions imposed on us by some Western countries. This is a day SADC designated yearly to express its opposition to and outrage against illegal Western sanctions against Zimbabwe until they are removed. We, the people of Zimbabwe, feel humbled by the solidarity demonstrated by both SADC and the AU, as well as main progressive forces and organizations who at the recent 77th session of the United Nations General Assembly in unison called for the immediate and unconditional removal of the illegal sanctions. I particularly express Zimbabwe's gratitude to Excellencies President Mark Sari, President Felix Tshisekedi, President Eric Masisi, President Cyril Ramaphosa, President Hage Geingob, and President William Ruto for leading Africa's charge against the illegal sanctions. They gave the campaign an airy and emphatic start. In addition, the endorsement of the findings and recommendations contained in the final report of the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Unilateral Coercive Measures, Ms. Alena Dohan, is a welcome development. It is the people of Zimbabwe's trust and fervent hope that the recommendations of the report will help persuade the West to immediately and unconditionally lift the illegal sanctions which Zimbabwe does not deserve at all. The sanctions regime undermines the tenets of the human factor approach of nations in pursuit of sustainable socio-economic development. They are an attack on the freedoms and on the sovereignty of Zimbabwe. Further, the illegal sanctions defy the fundamentals and precepts of international law. They challenge the notion of equality of nations and the values of global governance enshrined in the United Nations Charter. Today, we unite with the SADC region, Africa, and the progressive world to condemn the long-standing injustice meted out against the people of Zimbabwe by a few Western nations acting unilaterally and outside the UN Charter. We call, press, and reiterate that these illegal sanctions must go. The people and government of Zimbabwe deserve a chance. We are not and will never yield to the sanctions, conditioning, and strangulating effect. We will never give up on sacred ideals and goals of our protracted armed liberation struggle. We will not abandon the path we have chosen for ourselves as a sovereign people to develop, modernize, and industrialize our great motherland, Zimbabwe, using our own capabilities, resources, and international goodwill. Fellow Zimbabweans, ladies and gentlemen, the theme of this year's SADC Anti-Sanction Day, enhancing Zimbabwe's resilience through economic development, engagement and re-engagement, is most fitting and inspiring. It exhorts us all to continue building our resilience, adaptive capacities, and strategies in the fight against these coercive measures. As alluded to in the final report of the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Unilateral Measures, the sanctions have hindered us from accessing support and fresh capital from international financial institutions, IFIs. Be as it may, these sanctions cannot sanction our minds, our original thinking, our skill sets.
Amire,